Community payback starts as an unpaid work requirement for a community order, and we would use this for offences where the purpose of sentencing was punishment and reparation. In general, it would be used for offences where there was no violence and where there were no complex issues of either mental health or drug and alcohol misuse.
The idea of community payback is that it is visible so that the community can see that these people who have committed offences against their local community are actually putting something back for the benefit of that community. The offenders wear high visibility vests with community payback written on them. They have A boards which show that it is community payback offenders who are undertaking the work.
Community orders can last up to 3 years. The most regular sentence, I would say, is 12 months, maybe 12 to 18 months, so it can be as little as 6. Unpaid work hours stretch from a minimum of 40 to a maximum of 300. And we would expect, however many hours were set in a community order, to be completed within 12 months.
We do environmental type of work, we do painting and decorating type of work. So we would work in churchyards, we do village halls, community centres. We've worked alongside the police on crime reduction initiatives. We do a variety of work for the benefit of the local community. On this site we are working for Disabled Anglers Association. We've done a lot of clearance of brambles from around the site. We've created fencing, we're repairing vandalised fencing. On the lake itself we've provided duck houses in the centre of the lake on the island. We've provided pegs for the fishermen. So there's quite a lot of work going on this site.
Without this, it's just got overgrown and complete mess. You know, we wouldn't have been able to do it at all. It was a godsend to us because with us being disabled, a lot of the jobs we couldn't do ourselves. We are self-sufficient as much as we can be, but without community payback, I would imagine that before long we'd either have gone under or we'd had to find funding.
This is definitely not a soft option. People do think that we should be sending more people to prison for certain offences, but a community order can actually be far more onerous. When you think that we can only sentence people to 6 months imprisonment and that a third of that comes off if they plead guilty to the offence, then a 12-month community order is much more taxing.
I can give examples of offenders who have been given sort of up to 300 hours unpaid work, which they're required to do, and have actually turned to me and said, I would rather go to prison because if I go to prison I'll only go for 2 months, and to actually have to turn up week after week for up to 12 months doing this type of work, particularly if they are in employment, because it's obviously, in a way, it's a tax on their time.
They're here from 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they work. They're not here to sit down. They know they're here to work, and they get stuck in and do it.
And we're not just walking around picking up litter, we're actually doing something good. So I think the public perceive it a little bit differently than it actually is. It's hard graft some days, and I think it is a fair payback.
When they're brought in breach, we have 3 options. We can either revoke the order and re-sentence, or we can actually send that person into custody, because at this point it's not actually about the offence. They have breached a court order. What most often happens is that the probation service will ask us to mark the breach and allow the order to run. Now, in that case, we will make the order more onerous. Now, that might mean adding hours of unpaid work, or if unpaid work wasn't already a requirement, we could make it so, and then we'll let the order run. The upside of this is that when offenders are breached early on in their order, it does seem to have a positive effect. It does help them to focus on the requirements of the order, and they can then go through quite successfully.
All offenders are risk assessed prior to appearing before the court. If they are sentenced to a community order with an unpaid work requirement, they are then reassessed again, and the risk is monitored on a weekly basis. The priority of the probation service is to protect the public.
Some of the guys are learning new skills, using power tools, gardening skills, learning new skills. People who haven't been in work before, might give them an incentive.
It's certainly successful in that many of the offenders have gone on to gain employment who were otherwise previously unemployed. The statistics will show that offenders are less likely to reoffend when they've been on a community payback project as opposed to having a short-term prison sentence. There's clear benefits for the community in that the work that we're undertaking would not be done if it wasn't for these offenders doing this type of work, and that the public are allowed to and encouraged to nominate projects that they feel would be suitable for offenders on community payback.